Hey guys, it's IP here, back again today with another sort of post-commentary, whatever. It's not really post-commentary because I'm not talking about the video game in the background. For those of you who are curious, it's Mad Max, the new game that got released this year, in case you couldn't tell or whatever. But yeah, not relevant. Well, I guess it could be semi-relevant to the topic today, but not particularly important. Anyways, today I want to talk about something that's actually been on my mind a lot recently, which is longevity in video games. I totally just stumbled over that word, but whatever, I don't give a shit. Don't give me shit for it. But yeah, what I mean by that is basically if you look back 10 years now or something, or even just now, when you think of video games that sort of have a longer lasting they hold a place in history and stuff like that, off the top of my head, the first thing that comes to my mind, at least personally, is Legend of Zelda, which of course might just be because it played a massive role in my childhood, but of course also because it was very, very popular. It was a very unique game, or just the entire series. I'm not really speaking specifically of the first Legend of Zelda, but any of the games in that series. Another certain ones that sort of hold a place for me are the Metroid series, especially Metroid Prime and the ones on the GameCube, and then the Metroid Prime 3 or whatever. Then Star Fox, a lot of I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of Nintendo stuff. But basically what it got me thinking of is when you look at video games now, they have much higher budgets, much bigger, they're much more flashy. AAA titles are a lot bigger of a deal. They're beautiful, fucking amazing looking games. Mad Max in the background is one of those games where it's whoa, the story is really interesting. The world that it's set in is fantastic. It's fully realized and with amazing graphical fidelity and stuff like that. That's unparalleled by anything out there. Obviously, there are other games that look slightly better and stuff like that, but it's a good example by that sort of sets the bar really high for today's games and whatnot, and in terms of realizing a full virtual world within a small little screen or whatever, depending on what you're playing. I don't know, maybe you're playing it on a fucking movie theater, then I guess it's not a small screen, but you get my point. And honestly, I feel a lot of the games that come out now, you see so many huge releases each year. Let's say I'm thinking of ones that have massive worlds right now, things that really deserve the AAA name. So right off the bat, I think of Witcher 3, which I've been playing a bunch of recently. I haven't recorded any of it because it's kind of, past its prime or whatever. I don't feel like it's super relevant, nor would you guys really want to watch it. And it's pretty story driven, so if I just suddenly started throwing in little videos of that, it would be kind of what the fuck is going on? Why are you showing us this? But yeah, so Witcher 3, fucking massive game. I've been playing a bunch of it. I don't think I'm ever going to finish it. I'm having fun with it, granted, but I'll probably never beat it. I've been playing Mad Max, obviously, because you've seen that in the background. There's Just Cause 3, which just came out as well. There's Fallout 4, which I really want to be able to sink more time into because I absolutely love the Fallout universe, and the whole atmosphere the game presents is absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I would say, honestly, my favorite game of all time was Fallout 3. Granted, some of you might be like, but Fallout 1 and 2 are so much better. But yeah, I never played those, and Fallout 3 was a big fucking deal to me in 7th grade, okay? So, just shut the fuck up, please, just shut the fuck up. But anyways, so those are the big games that I can think of right now. I guess Star Wars Battlefront was a big deal too, at least from a graphical standpoint, but it didn't really have its own unique world because obviously it's set in the Star Wars universe, and as impressive as it is, blah blah. As impressive as it is, it's not it's not the universe was created solely for the video game, and obviously Mad Max wasn't created solely for the video game either, but it was more heavily fleshed out within the game and stuff like that, and obviously you could explore it on your own free will, whereas in the movies and stuff, you just kind of you go along with the movie and shit. But I'm getting off topic. So what I'm really trying to get at is obviously there are a lot of video games from 10-15 years ago that people still play today. People still hail them as like the holy grail of video games and stuff like that. Like, oh my god, these titles will never die. These names will be known by all forever and stuff like that. And with good reason, because those titles are fantastic and they're really good. Granted, they don't stand up really too well today, and when I tend to go back and play those games, I start noticing things that really bother me that I obviously didn't notice back then, and they didn't bother me then because I didn't have a concept of like what things are, like what balance is in a video game. Like if there's something super overpowered back then, but I didn't like even give a shit because I don't know, I was like 12 and stuff like that. So obviously those games were not perfect, but for some reason they're held way high above everything else, like just period, in terms of video games, like, and that nothing coming out now will ever stand up to those, and like they like, you know, just fucking go home and quit. Like, dude, why do you even make video games anymore? Because you're never going to be that good. Obviously that's not the case. I mean, like, they're like Witcher is especially fantastic. I still don't feel like Witcher 3 especially. I think Witcher 3 was honestly one of the best, probably the best one in the series so far. At least from the like critical reception, it seems like it was way more popular and more like appreciated or whatever than any of the other Witcher games. Not to say that the first or the second were bad, but you know, the third one just kind of like boom, like took it to a whole new level and shit, which is really good. And I mean, I have no problem with that, because if you know, you keep one-upping each other, you're just getting better and better stuff. I mean, like, who's complaining about that? But anyways, like, I really wonder though, so we go 10 years into the future now, and people look at, like, will people look back and say like, oh, The Witcher 3, that was like my childhood, like, oh my god, or Fallout 4, like that was a big fucking deal, or Mad Max, like any of these games that have massive worlds that like kind of dwarf the size of like Zelda. Like, I'm gonna use maybe Wind Waker. I think that was probably the most influential Zelda game for me anyways, because I beat that game like 10 times. And the GameCube and shit, it was great. I love that game. I still love it. The HD remake was pretty cool. Pretty neat. But anyways, so like I really wonder if 10 years from now people are gonna go back and see like you know, Mad Max or Witcher or any particular game. Like I'd say I limit this to like AAA stuff, even though obviously there are a lot of fantastic indie games out there as well. And I'm trying to use AAA as an example because, you know, Nintendo is a AAA company, so when I'm comparing Zelda with a AAA company like Nintendo behind it, I should feel like I should probably be comparing someone with equivalent or more resources to them to, you know, sort of set the stage as even as possible. But I somehow doubt that 10 years from now, even 5 years from now, someone's going to look back and be like, oh yeah, look at that, Witcher 3, it's $3 on a Steam sale, guys. That's so neat. Like, I remember that. That game made me like who I am today. Like, that was why I bought an Xbone. JK, why did I buy an Xbone? I didn't do that. Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know. You're fucking crazy, dude. Just, yep. I don't think anyone's gonna do that with any games like now. Like, they're being pumped out so fast, one after another. I feel like every fucking, like, well, obviously it's not every week that there's a big AAA release or anything, but it certainly feels like it. I mean, obviously my perception of time is kind of fucked up, but like, it feels like all the time I'm just like popping onto Steam and it's like, boom, this just came out, boom, this just came out, and they all have like these massive, like a plethora of content within the game that I will never get to scratch. Like, I might buy the game, I'll play it for 5-10 hours, be like, this is really fucking fantastic, but all of a sudden there's this new game that's like, I gotta go play this, and it has like more, like the same if not more content than the previous. So like Fallout 4 came out, I'm like, oh my god, this is cool. Then there was like Battlefront. This is probably not even in order, but then there's Battlefront, and granted that didn't hold my attention for very long, but whatever. So then I moved on to Battlefront, played that a bunch, and then I bought Witcher on sale, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. But it's like, this point I've moved so far beyond Fallout 4 that unfortunately I don't think I'm ever going to really get back into it, as fantastic of a game as it might be. Anyways, basically the point I'm trying to get at is that I feel like a lot of video games, as good as they are now that, you know, they're coming out, they will never be held as high as some of the originals, like the stuff that really brought video games into the, you know, mainstream or whatever. I don't know, like, because Zelda I don't think really did that. It was just something that was like a big fucking deal and, you know, had never really been done before and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of the classics and stuff like that, I mean, they're the classics, but I'm really wondering if, you know, in the future, 10, 15 years from now, are we going to still consider those games as the classics, or will there be something that I'm looking at now? Like maybe there's something that I won't even, like I'm not even listing or something that will be considered like a big deal and something that, you know, changed the game industry. But I feel like the way the game industry is going now, focusing on stuff like microtransactions and doing all sorts of bullshit that's just generally pissing people off, I feel like it's never going to get back to that good stage, if you know what I mean. Like it's never, right now the video game like developers or publishers more in particular are kind of villainized. Like they're, you know, if you're not indie and you know, are a big AAA releaser or whatever the fuck, you're making microtransactions and doing DLC and season passes for content that's not out, and everyone hates you, fuck you, everyone's just generally angry. Whereas back then, at least not from my perspective anyways, it didn't seem like anyone particularly hated any, like, no one hated Sega, no one hated Nintendo. I mean, Sony kind of got in there at some point. I mean, actually, they were kind of a big deal, and then Microsoft, when they started getting in there, no one really, like, hated them. Like, no one did anything that was so blatantly ripping people off, like on-disc DLC or anything like that. Granted, the infrastructure for it wasn't really there because, you know, that was only really possible with things like Xbox Live and, you know, being able to live patch your games and shit like that. But, like, no one really got pissed about it, or not about anything, I suppose. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and there were certain titles that came out that were totally fucked, but that didn't really ever occur, like, with anything I played. And I played a lot of video games when I was younger, like, probably more than I do now, to be honest. And I never really noticed the hostility, but I did notice that, you know, there was always, like, a holy grail or, like, something that the gaming community focused on, like a certain series or certain, you know, just individual title or whatever. And obviously those games are still, you know, heralded as some of the best and stuff, like Mario. I mean, seriously, who fucking doesn't like Mario? Probably a lot of people, actually. I'm not a huge fan of Mario. Okay, guys, I mean, it's okay. It's pretty fun for a little bit, but it gets kind of fucking boring. But anyways, yeah, so let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Like, do you think there's any games that right now will be, you know, 10 years from now will be shown as something that was like a shining beacon of light within video game history? Or if, you know, a lot of these games that are coming out, like, they're being pumped out so fucking quickly, and especially series like Assassin's Creed, like 1 and 2, well, 1 was okay. 2 was fucking fantastic. And they've obviously kind of fucking destroyed the series because they just keep boom, pumping them out one after another, like, every fucking year. And I just, like, I used to be able to keep up with them, and I used to actually complete all of them, and eventually I just, like, got too much. I'm just like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. And they're just, like, not good games anymore. They're completely ruining the series. I mean, if they had put bigger gaps between the releases and stuff like that, then they could probably have done it, and, you know, it would have been fine. But nope. They're completely destroying it. And obviously, games like Zelda, they don't really do that. There's quite a few years between releases of Zelda games, and no one really, you know, complains. I mean, obviously, it would be cool if there were more frequent Zelda games, but if they did that, I feel like it would fall into the whole realm of being, you know, milked, like a milked franchise and whatnot. So, yeah. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think there's any specific game, whether it's Fallout or Witcher or whatever, that'll, you know, be remembered 10 years from now? Or at least personally for you, something that'll, you know, really stand out and, you know, make you remember the glory days of Fallout 4 or some shit like that. And, yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.